Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a WTC video. So, a lot of people are doing the thing where they go through the WTC list they either think are interesting or for their faction, and I haven't noticed anybody has done it for Tyranids yet, so I'll do it for Tyranids for the time being. Now, with that, here's the disclaimer. I am not at the same 40k playing level as the people that are going to be attending WTC. So, this is going to be my non super major winning input. This is what you got, okay? So, we're just going to talk about it, see all the things, and talk about the things. WTC will be happening August 7th through August 10th in Austria. 42 teams registered, 336 players so far. Well, I say so far, but I'm pretty sure like everything's locked. So, 336 players. They're going to be at WTC this year. And it looks like it is going to be a very interesting time given the state of the meta. A lot of things are looking quite scary. So, needless to say, I wasn't surprised when there weren't too many Tyranids lists. As I look over to my notes here, I have it down that there are 14 Tyranids lists in total. Actually, we could just do this. Do one of these just to double check. All right. Scroll down. Up, 14. 14 Tyranids list. 14 teams brought Tyranids, and of the breakdown, I have that 7 are sub assault. Somehow I messed that up in my notes. Goodness, early morning. 6 are invasion fleet, and 1 is Vanguard onslaught. If you're wondering what I mean by I messed that up in my notes, it should have said sub as, but I put sub triple A. Kulu Kalay. But yeah, World Team Championship apparently has 14 players bringing Tyranids, and as you might count the tabs at the top, there's 15 after this one, and that's because there was one notable exclusion that I thought was funny, I thought was just being a little bit cheeky, and I don't know, I'm just saying, I was looking at the stat check stream, to be honest, um, don't know if it's still just a funny hee hee ha ha, but I noticed that Sam Pope is not even on Tyranids, and the Sam is on GSC. And the list name says, I wanted to play Snake Farm, but then it was not good. The Tyranids players were right. All along, the faction is bad. If free 6-inch deep strike and full reroll ones can't save us, nothing can. I must not doom. Doom is the fun killer. Doom is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my doom. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the doom has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. So, for those of you that don't really, keep up with anything, Sam Pope is a pretty established Tyranid player. Pretty sure Sam was the rank 1 Tyranids player last year. I would assume so. I don't really know who last year could have taken that title with the wins. But yeah, so when the best, in my opinion, we'll say one of the best because maybe I am completely forgetting something and somebody with better results, but one of the, let's say, top two, uh, and they're not second. Okay, I gotta stop. One of the best Tyranids players in the world is not on Tyranids for WTC. That does have a lot of things come into question, right? Is the composition of Team USA just so? Let's go to USA actually. Just so out there that why did not that not do? Sam, sorry, Sam. How do you spell? Oh no, you just registered Miss Sam. Okay. But yeah, if one of if Team USA just says no, we don't need the best Tyranids player on Tyranids, does that speak more to the composition of what they're doing, or does it speak to just the overall state of the army? Now, I gotta admit, I said this a month or two back when I noticed that Sam wasn't taking Tyranids to a couple of events. Last I think I saw, they were on World Eaters. And that was like, what the fuck is going on? So now they're on GSC. And we're looking at Host of Ascension, GSC, which, if you needed a Swarm player, right, you could have had Brian Sipe on Green Tide. And I don't know how badly you needed that just to run these many models. Like, I can understand because Sam Pope is a Swarm player, likes the little models. So if you really needed Host of Ascension, it does make sense that you could then just make or Swarm Host. If you really needed that, this would be your player to do that. Compared to, I don't know. I guess I'm really just thrown off by the fact that Sam is the one piloting GSC because, I mean, you also have Nick Nanavati right there, Nanavati, that also does GSC. So, but I guess nobody else could do Eldari. There's a lot of questions that maybe it did just come down to what was needed for the composition. But at the same time, I don't know. I think I feel a little bit bad in the fact that, hey, I kind of said that, the rules may look busted, but you're still playing here in these data sheets. So maybe that's the case. Maybe, who knows? We will see. Team USA is always a top contender. So maybe the other 14 teams are in for some trouble by bringing Tyranids. Who knows? Also, especially after the FAQ, where I know some people were getting a little too silly, so that might have inflated some of the results or the numbers on Subterranean Assault. So, going on past all of that preamble, what do we have for Tyranids in the way of it? First up, we have Belgium. If I'm being honest, if you're looking, you're like, what is the order? I did this, and then I went down. So, Belgium is the first one. We have Invasion Fleet, Hive Tyrant, Neuro Tyrant, Turvy. We have, looking at that, right, 50 Hormagaunts, I can do math, and then we have 60 Termagants. And Turvy. Alright, okay. Biovores, not to say like that's bad or anything, but I'm just, alright, I mean, respect it. I've recently been thinking about a list with 30 Hormagaunts, so who's to say 20 more can't do it? Biovores, triple Exocrine, Lictor, single Rupture Cannon, Tyrannifex, Venom Thropes. Okay. Okay. Invasion Fleet, huh? Perfectly adapted on the Hive Tyrant, adapted biology on Turvy. So Turvy will get a 5 to a 4 up Field of Pain. And then the Hive Tyrant can get a reroll on top of the fact that it has a free... Well, now it definitely needs it because you have less command points. Interesting. Okay, I do wonder why. I wonder why this was the angle. I think because the thing that really trips me out is a single Tyrannifex. I do wonder what's going on in the Belgium camp. I'm letting you know right now, if I go through every team's entire composition on top of that, this will take forever. So we're not making the video that long. Next up, we have Bulgaria that has a Brood Lord, a single Brood Lord, and a Hive Tyrant. We have 20 Hormagaunts, 20 Termagants, a Biovore, triple Exocrine, a single Gene Stealer brick, Lictor, Maliceptor, triple Tyrannifex. Okay. Also Invasion Fleet. Did I say that first time? Invasion Fleet. So far, I wonder what these are tailored to go into. Because the first list, maybe it's just a blunter, maybe it's just blocking, right? Because the first list isn't just full swarm. We haven't fully sent it. You can send it a bit more on the swarm over here. Like, you drop an exocrine for even more. Um, and to be honest, I wonder if it's a model limit kind of thing. Like, hey, we need a bit of swarm so people don't know how to play around it. And you chose Turvy instead of more Hormagaunts or even Gargoyles. But then also you have the issue of command points. And actually, Neurotyrant, no Zoe. So you're not trying to keep them alive with the 6-up invuln either. Interesting. And then this next one really does puzzle me a bit. Because it looks like we're going for output. But, hmm, I wonder. I do wonder. Looks like you're going for output, but there's a couple of pieces. There's a single lictor instead of breaking the Termagants into another lictor. Interesting, because it's like a slight variation of stock standard invasion fleet. So, interesting. Then we have China bringing us the first sub assault list. Um, things under the bed, funny. Death Leaper, Old One Eye, Swarm Lord, and Trigon. So we have every epic hero, quote unquote, character of the roster, and Trigon Prime, which I would argue is pretty epic too. Uh, Double Gargoyles. A lot of people seem to be high that Gargoyles are a staple of Subterranean Assault. I don't quite agree, but other people are liking it so far. Who am I to judge, right? So 20 gargoyles, Biovore, 2 Harspects, Hive Guard. I do want to talk about this for a second because when I was looking at lists last week, I didn't end up making it a video because I kind of already made it a video. But Hive Guard with Shot Cannon have surprisingly been performing in Subterranean Assault. Now, I'm not going to say that it's past taking 1 unit worth, and honestly, I don't know how many of us have past 1 unit worth of Shot Cannon Hive Guard nowadays. Um, but the one of seems to be doing fine enough. And when I say that I already kind of covered it, it's because I kind of theorized it with the points that it might have played in Subterranean Assault, and so far it's looking okay. Um, Damage 3, possibly getting sustained hits 1, reroll hit rolls of 1, ignore cover. You know, it's not the flashiest of APs, but it's something, right? Double Maleceptor, Moloch, 2 squads of Raveners. Now, this is another thing I want to talk about. I still don't see a lot of lists including the hyper adapted Raveners. So, I wonder if it's been that hard for others to get them. Thankfully, I have obtained mine. Seems cool. Now, mind you, I'm not going to say that I've obtained like 3 units worth. Let's slow that down. But I wonder if people are still having issues obtaining them. But this is the thing that I would think a WTC team would try their hardest to obtain a unit like that for the team if the team feels it's like super necessary. So I wonder if Subterranean Assault still, in my opinion, I just don't find the hyper adapted Raveners to be much value in Subterranean Assault. Like for 165, you could just have another Trigon. Um, and the regular Raveners kind of go up and down on their own to open some more tunnel. So I don't really rate them too highly in Subterranean Assault, but at the same time, it does give you the something that I do like the redundancy of things. Like, yeah, you already have um, sustain, so you don't need to waste a command point on it. But now you get the rerolls, so that'd be cool. And then into Twin Link, that's pretty nice. All that to say, though, that the unit is pretty pricey. 290 for attaching 2 Raveners, 165 on their own. their own, I guess. The five as the leader. Um, it's interesting. If GW brings them down in cost, I think they'll be fine. And it's kind of hard to think that GW will, given that all of us Tyranids players are like, these are the bee's knees. If bees had knees, these are them. Um, but at the same time, we're not putting up results enough to, like, in one camp, you'd be like, well, we're still not getting great enough results with them. So, like, yeah, GW, you could cut some points, but at the same time, as people overhype things and then get it nerfed, and it's just like, okay, well, it's just like whatever. You find out that overhyping the slightly above average thing might have negative effect. So we shall see on that. Next up, we have the Czech. Is this Czech Republic or just Czechia? Czechia. I was wondering, but yeah, we have another subterranean assault list here. Broodlord, double hyper adapted Raveners, Swarmlord, Trigon, double Gargoyles, Hormigons, Biovore, two Exocrines, uh, Gene Stealers, small Gene Stealers. There's those Shot Cannon Hive Guard again, Norn Emissary, and one Ravener squad. So we have two hyper adapted Raveners, but only one regular Ravener squad. That's interesting. And no enhancements on it, actually. Trigon Prime, no enhancements on the. Huh. Okay, I have a world of questions now. No attachments on the hyper adapted Raveners, and not a second squad of regular Raveners, and small unit of Gene Stealers to go with the Broodlord. I have many questions. What's going on here? Um, Trigon Prime, yeah. Gargoyles, Hormigons. See, I wonder what. I wonder the why on these. Not in a, what are you doing kind of thing, but I wonder what the plays are. Because if I'm looking at a small unit of Broodlord Gene Stealers, you're not exactly asking them to kill things. You're asking them to go out. Scout, now mind you, they might pick up a tiny unit, right? They already have rerolls, but getting it twice over. So that we thankfully we don't have abilities that lock out abilities yet. Um, but yeah, something like that. I do wonder where the angle of that is. But huh, I now wonder why not make it Hormigons more? Like, why not make this two more units of Hormigons, giving them rerolls? Yeah, I do wonder. I wonder. And then I also wonder why two hyper adapted Raveners and not another squad of regular Raveners. Or even a Moloch? Or another Trigon when you're not going to take the enhancements. I have questions. I'll be honest, I don't really track the ratios for this one. I don't really. I'm not seeing the plan, and that's not to say that, it's a bad plan or anything that just means that my novice ass does not. It's not abundantly clear to me. Next up, we have Finland, the only Vanguard onslaught. Triple Broodlord, Death Leaper, Hyper Adapted Raveners three times over. Winged Hive Tyrant, Winged Tyranid Prime, Biovores, Gene Stealers, and the Small Brits. Okay. Lictor, Neurolictor, Max Raveners, because they can only be in fives now. Tyranid Warriors. No, oh yeah, we did have Winged Tyranid Prime. Okay, okay, okay. Oh shit. I think I like it. I think I like it. I think I like it. I hold on. Finland kind of cooked. Wait, Ravner Prime and Stalker and no wait, there's no Neuro Node. Okay, hold on. Hold on. That's my only concern. There's no Neuro Node. For those of you that need a refresher, that's the redeploy in Vanguard Onslaught. I guess I should be talking about what the detachments do, but I think if you're looking at WTC video, we're far enough in. But I guess there's only 3 detachments being played. So, Invasion Fleet, you know what it does. You pick a hyper adaptation into infantry and swarm, right? Infantry, whatever. Into monsters, sustained into those, lethals into monster vehicle. You're not picking a third. Subterranean assault, burrower units, the snakes, uppy down, make holes, come out of holes. And Vanguard Onslaught, Vanguard Invader units, which the hyper adapted Raveners are, which the hyper adapted Raveners are, advance in charge. Everybody else get fall back in charge. Well, that Vanguard Invader units can also get fall back in charge. But either way, we're this far. Small units of Brewlord Gene Stealers has me wondering, I'll be honest, because I am a firm believer, I've said this time and time again, that if you throw 30 Gene Stealers at your opponent's face, good things will happen. You might not win, but good enough things. Making them all small keeps them in the same role of forward pressure, but it definitely reduces their punch. And to that end, reducing that punch and still taking Wing Tyranid Prime and Warriors confuses me slightly. But it's about the pacing. Because if you send out the 3 Gene Stealers, while you have the Lictor and the Neurolictor that have like secured a spot on the board, being infiltrators, and even to that end, no, actually I do think you start the Lictor on the board because you can't uppy downy it if you want a rapid ingress for free some other time. In Vanguard Onslaught. Well, I guess Subterranean Assault too, but while we're here in Vanguard Onslaught, you also have them attaching to regular Raveners, so they could be deep striking. They could start on the board and advance in charge with 10-inch movement. The Warriors serve as another punch, though, because they are the slowest out of these pairings. So Gene Stealers first, I would assume hyper adapted Raveners and Raveners after, and then finally, if you really need it, the Warriors to beat somebody's ass. But I do wonder if those points would be better allocated to make sure that the first punch has more punch, because at the end of the day, the Gene Stealers are still 2 wound bodies with a 5-up invuln. So I wonder how we landed on Warriors being a final punch if needed. I wonder, because there's less bodies of them too. That's the other thing. So I'm looking at 150 here. That could be 10 more Gene Stealers, and then drop Stalker, right? Drop Stalker and the Wing Tyranid Prime. That could be, 15 more Gene Stealers. But I get, that's a doozy. And still has the Biovore. We saw Nathaniel Bjords bring Vanguard Onslaught with the Raveners, the new Raveners, and drop the Biovore completely. But I think it's harder to sell your team, hey guys, I'm going to not take the staple piece. So I can understand if Finland was like, what the fuck do you mean you think about not taking a Biovore? If that was even a consideration. So possibly wasn't going to get away with that one on the team. But probably like, no, you're taking the Biovore. Interesting. Interesting. It's interesting. I'm not worried, but I am. Because I think that a small pool of Gene Stealers, I just think that's too Overwatch vulnerable. Now, mind you, it is team, so you can keep them away from the things that you might need them. And on that note, I theorize This is a night answer. Actually, I'm going to do the thing I said I wasn't going to do. Finland. Finland, Finland, Finland. Um, oh, wait, cool. Finland. I need to see if you have another night answer. I don't think you do. Except for maybe Thousand Suns? So here's my theory. Um, because I think Vanguard Onslaught gets better and the aspect that if you're going into opponents that can't overwatch you because they're Titanic, and you start beating their ankles with devastating wounds, I think that you have gameplay into it. On that note, this is where I am again wondering why it's the fives of Gene Stealers, because you need as many devastating wounds and to still tie them up as long as possible. I understand that the hyper adapted Raveners have twin linked anti vehicle on fives, so they're still, those also are 33 wound units. Yeah, 33 wound units. Attaching to regular Raveners, hyper adapted Raveners. With sustain, so I guess they're more effective at it. Maybe? Oh yeah, certainly. What am I talking about? They have flat 2 damage on top of that. Ah, that some other things. But they are more effective at it. So I guess if you can literally just hold enough, it'll be fine. And again, that's just me theorizing why this is the pick, because I do rate now with hyper adapted Raveners Vanguard Onslaught. I do. Um, but assuming you don't get that pairing, this gets dangerous. That's where I think that the max bricks of Stealer Bombs gives you a little bit more safety, because it's not the hardest thing to pick up T4, 5 up invo, and 2 wound bodies into about anything else. If you end up into Death Guard or a unit with Forge Fiends, you're kind of done. So I wonder exactly what this goes into. My guess is Knights. That's my guess. But, could be wrong. And I guess we'll see. Probably am wrong, but hey, we will see. Next up, we have, I believe this is Israel. Ben, yes, Israel with, I lost it. Subterranean Assault. Okay. Hive Tyrant, Hyper Adapted Raveners, Neurotyrant, Trigon Prime, Garglers, Biovores, Lictor, Raveners, Zoes. We did see Neurotyrant, okay. Double Exocrine, Maliceptor, Double Screamer Killer. Now, Screamer Killer is interesting, and the fact that we kind of shied away from it. But, I gotta admit, it seems to be in place of Haruspexes, which Screamer Killers are easier to fit on the board, flat damage 3, and they can also help trigger the Zoes. And have a ranged attack, which kind of what I've talked about with Subterranean Assault is that the list that bring mixed range backslash mixed will be doing better than the melee, and I think that this is what has happened over here too. Hive Tyrant, regular Hive Tyrant. Also to note, regular Hive Tyrant and not the Swarm Lord. So while other Subterranean Assault lists are going to like putting the Swarm Lord up there and getting that aura, that Lord of Deceit malign presence, +1 to stratagem cost, and within a foot of Swarmy, I think that Ben here is going the Hive Tyrant lethals, rerolling hit rolls around to Exocrine's Maliceptor Screamer Killer route, Zoe's to route a little bit instead, while still retaining free. And personally, I'm Hive Tyrant over Swarm Lord in Subterranean Assault so far. Next up, we have Malta with Invasion Fleet. Only the Winged Hive Tyrant as a character. We have 60 Hormagaunts. Okay. Biovore, Exocrine, 3 of them. Lictors, 2 of those. Triple Norn Emissary, and a Pirate Vor. Now, this is interesting because You get a little bit of mix of both worlds, right? A Winged Hive Tyrant and Hormagaunts means that you have melee pressure. Not the most, but the Hormagaunts are a melee unit, and then if you can get it so that the Winged Hive Tyrant is looking at a unit that is engaged with Hormagaunts that have advance and charge, um, you can reduce the attack. Now, you gotta do it on the die roll, so don't roll a 1, but if they're visible, at the fight phase, you can see reduce the attacks of that opponent's unit by 1. So they might not pick up Hormagaunts that have advanced in charge, and an invasion fleet can regenerate 2 of those units as long as they are within synapse as well. Northern emissaries on the point, that's fine a bunch of times over. I think that's pretty cool. Next up, we have Netherlands with Subterranean Assault, Hyper Adapted Raveners, Neurotyrant, Old One Eye, Trigon Prime. No Hive Tyrant. Interesting. Gargoyles, one of Biovores, Double Exocrine, Haruspex, Lictor, Maliceptor, 2 Raveners, 2 regular Ravener squad. Well, I'm assuming 1 probably goes with Hyper Adapted Raveners. Tyrannifex, Rupture Cannon, and Zoe's, and we did see the Neuro Tyrant. So, no Hive Tyrant, and what I still think is a command point hungry detachment, but it's a familiar name. So, just going to assume they know what they're doing, right? You know, that's a familiar name we've seen in the Tyranids charts before. So I imagine they're no stranger to a Hive Tyrant. I know they're no stranger to a Hive Tyrant. Uh, so there's got to be the question raised of, well, if I could just make some more tunnels with regular Raveners and a Trigon, how much needs to come out? I guess you don't need to throw. Oof. I guess you only do enfilading emergence, i.e., sustained, ignore cover on the Zoes. Really? Maybe the Maliceptor, maybe the Haruspex. So I guess maybe doing it 3 times. Tunnel Network is significantly worse, so don't really know if you need to focus on that one either. So, I mean, there's also that. Maybe the fact that Tunnel Network got kind of what other people would say is coming to it, was coming to it, but now that it has to be without and being in engagement range, maybe you look to use the stratagem even less. So you don't need a Hive Tyrant in that regard. Maybe. Next up, we have Norway, another familiar name, and going on Surprise Assault. Sorry, Detachment Rule. Subterranean Assault. So we have Neurotyrant, Old One Eye, and Swarmy, Trigon Prime. Bio 4, triple Haruspex, excuse me. Hive Guard with Shot Cannon, 2 units of them. Neurogauch 45. We know that Thomas, right? I was on the right list. Is no stranger to Neurogauch, if I'm remembering correctly. Neurolictor, double Raveners, Zoes. Okay. Okay. Gotta admit, I do wonder what happens to this list if you go with Hive Tyrant instead of Swarmy. I wonder. I wonder if this helps. That 6 inches will be kind of tight if you're putting Hive Guard out there, so maybe not. But if you're willing to put Swarmy in a forward position, I think you could be. I guess technically there's more durability because of the stratagem cost increase, so maybe not to the same degree, even though it's the exact same profile. Interesting. Okay. Double Raveners, and again, going back to no hyper adapted Raveners. Old One Eye. No Carnifexes. And not a Screamer Killer. Interesting, interesting. Triple Haruspex. Triple Haruspex. Yeah, okay. Okay. Triple horror specs. You did bring a Neurolictor. So I guess triple horror specs does make more sense. Okay. Alright. I can get behind this. I can get behind this list. Old One Eye is throwing me off though, I'm not gonna lie. Solo Old One Eye is throwing me off just a bit. Cause yeah, throw Old One Eye out of a tunnel can create problems. But would that 150 be better as a Trigon or a Moloch for another tunnel? For I would say roughly, but Old One Eye does have tank hurting abilities. Ah, interesting. Okay, Old One Eye is throwing me off so tough. I can see it, like I understand it, but it's the solo dolo Old One Eye. No, and it's also so it's Old One Eye alone, and compared to Old One Eye and the Carnifexes instead of Neurotyrant Zoes, but you still have Neurotyrant Zoes and still brought solo One Eye, Old One Eye. This is going to be one interesting to keep an eye on. And no hyper adapted Ravs for the Ravs, to note again. I guess, yeah, in this loadout, right, you have Horospexes going forward. And I mean, yeah, it doesn't say how many things can come out of a tunnel at once, so if the Hive Guards stay in reserves, right, then you've already flung Horospexes at your opponent's face through tunnels. And Hive Guard possibly clean up crew if not getting the angle on something. Old One Eye, I guess, yeah. And Swarm Lord makes more sense in that case too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I'm seeing it. I think I'm seeing it. Next up, we have Ryan Scotland, Subterranean Assault, one Hyper Adaptive Ravs unit, Neurotyrant, Swarm Lord. Gargoyles back in action. Did we have gargoyles here? No. No battle line. Gargoyles, Biovores, double Harspecs, single unit Hive Guard, Elector, Neurolictor, Norn Emissary, Raveners, Zoes. And again, no enhancements on the hyper adapted Rav. Also, no Trigon Prime. No Trigon Prime. That's a bold call. No Trigon Prime and no enhancements on the hyper adapted Ravs. This looks like you're going to be playing hardball. Ooh, this seems. See, this is my other thing. If you're going to be bringing hyper adapted Ravs, I would assume that you bring turn one deep strike, so you can make a tunnel immediately. But no, none of that, and no Trigon Prime. But instead, two Harspexes, Lictor, so this seems like it's going to be tough on you. It seems like you've made things a little bit tougher for yourself. Not in the manner of like, oh, you could have just made it like you're playing Tyranny, so it's already tougher on yourself. But I wonder if some of the quote unquote auto includes make it tougher. Swarmlord Neurotyrant. Double Gargoyles. Double Harspects. Does the Norn Emissary just take up too many points? Neurolector. Hyper adapted Ravs over Trigon Prime is kind of throwing me. I'll be honest. I mean, I think that's been evident that it's been throwing me. Interesting call. Next we have Marek Slovakia, another familiar name. Also, I should note that most of these have been familiar names. Um, in general, like it's the WTC, no shit, I guess. Broodlord, Hive Tyrant, Neuro Tyrant. We are in Invasion Fleet. Gargoyles, Formigants, Biophores, 10 Gene Stealers, Lictor, Neurolictor, 6 Zoes, triple Exocrine, triple Maliceptor. So a return to old form in a bit. No Tyrannofexes. What are you focused on here? Death Guard? Maybe. Because it isn't a point scoring loadout, it just shoots you off the table loadout. 1 unit of Gene Stealers. I assume to scout out and prevent them from immediately touching your Neurolictor and Exocrines and Maliceptors to an extent. We're an invasion fleet, so no fallback and shoot or charge like Synaptic or the previous Subterranean Assault. Not what it said verbatim, but how people treated it. Interesting. Maybe it's just familiar. Maybe it's literally just stop them from scoring points with a list. Could be a blocker, blunter. Okay, possibly. Interesting. Next up, we have David, and this is Team South Africa, right? David, yep, South Africa. And Subterranean Assault, Death Leaper, Spicy, Hive Tyrant, Neuro Tyrant, Trigun, Hormigons, 20 of them. Biovores, another 5 of Gene Stealers. No Broodlord. Um, double Haruspex, double Moloch, Neurolictor, double Psychophage, 3 Tyranid Warriors, 2 units of 3 of Melee Warriors, and a squad of Zoes to go with the Neurotyrant, right? We had a Tremors. Okay. Trigon isn't Trigon Prime, it's Vanguard Intellect. Okay. Gotta admit, you're the first one that's completely floored me. Okay, so double Haruspex, double Moloch. We're going for with single Neurolictor though. So we are going for some Battle Shock shenanigans. The single the small warriors confuses the hell out of me. So does the double Psychophage. Zoe's okay, Zoe's get the shooting range, essentially. Because if the Molochs come up, and if they trigger a failed battle shock test that's plus 1 to 1 that you can just go over to. So that makes sense. Higher specs also makes sense. I've talked about this before too. It's a good relay. Now, mind you, there's no Screamer Killer here. I think I would have expected Screamer Killers instead of um, Warriors and Psychophages, if I'm being honest. Because then it'd be a relay situation where if they get battle shocked by the Screamer Killer or from Molochs emerging, then you shoot them out with the Zoes, or if it's not a Zoe angle, you throw a Haruspex at them, and then if the Haruspex eats that unit, trigger more battle shock test, and you kind of just block your opponent out of playing the game. Admittedly, hoping on a lot of failed battle shock tests. That's why I see Death Leaper in the inclusion. Hormigons, I guess, to help you just have places to land. 1 Neurolictor, but double Psychophage also confuses me. for the bonus AP, I know that would take the Molochs to AP3, Power Specs to AP2 and AP3. Okay. Okay. Small melee warriors. I think we understand that I'm confused as hell about that because I don't rate warriors. 75 for 3 at 543. I already have reroll hit rolls of 1 and then twin length. I would understand a bit more if it was a Wing Tyranid Prime and then Warriors, but I guess if you just need little shitter units, 75. You already have Hormigons, right? I already have Hormigons. But I'm surprised it's not like another Neurolictor or a Lictors. Okay, I'm a little bit floored, not gonna lie. This list is groundbreaking. You know what? Hey, you know what? Yeah, that. Okay. All right, gonna have to see. I'm gonna have to make sure that. Well, I'm gonna look to see how Tyranids do at WTC anyway. But yeah, okay. All right, my brain. Oh yeah, single. Right. So we went with warriors and not just more gene stealers too. So that's also confusing the hell out of me. I have so many questions. We didn't go for Von Ryan's Leapers either. That would be infiltrate. One less AP and you're bringing the Cycle Fate. Alright, I'll be honest. Maybe my hate for warriors is overtaking my logic, sense, and tendrils or whatever the fuck. Uh, I've gotta know. I gotta know what you're aiming for too. Like it looks fun, definitely looks fun, but now I am proper confused. Next up, Thailand. We have Death Leaper, Hive Tyrant, 3 units of hyper adapted Raveners, and we are an invasion fleet. So they already have sustained. Hormigons, 2 units of 10. Biovores, small gene stealers, no brood lords. Then we have Hive Guard, small shot cannon, Hive Guard, big shot cannon, Neurogons, Neurolictor, Pyrovores, triple Raveners to go with the triple hyper adapted Raveners. This is a Vanguard Onslaught list and Invasion Fleet, and I want to know why. Because the Hive Guard, being infantry, would be able to uppy down again like they can in Subterranean Assault. And actually, holy fluff. Thinking about it right now, if you didn't want to play Subterranean Assault, to give the hyper adapted Raveners steel advance and charge while still having access to moving Hive Guard for angles of shot cannon shenanigans, yeah, you'd be missing out on the sustained rerolls, ignore cover. I understand that's probably a big component of the Hive Guard if we're being very honest. Um, but we've taken Neuro Tyrant Zoe, so you could do 2 units for cheaper. You could do more units of, hey, I want to take out big things for cheaper. And then put them somewhere over there. Huh. I don't know, maybe somebody else make that a Vanguard list. I won't be doing it, but, hey, maybe that's something for somebody else. Brewlord, Gene Stealers, Hyperadaptive Raveners, Hive Guard with shot cannons? Maybe. Maybe that's the play for being the Night Killer on your team. Maybe. But back to this list. I think I'm only confused why Invasion Fleet. 5 up, feel no pain. You already get sustained on like the majority of your units. So if you're going lethals, because you're aiming to punch into monsters and vehicles. You have anti-monster, anti-vehicle 5 up twin linked already. And you already have sustained, so you don't really need it. I mean, I guess sustained lethal twin linked anti-monster, anti-vehicle 5 up will clear them. And you'll get there with 5 up invulns and 5 up feel no pains, excuse me, and deep strike. Hive guard, gene stealers. I just want to know why this isn't in Vanguard. You have Hormigons too. Like, I guess the Hormigons can respawn. Possibly give them lethals into something. Perfectly adapted compared to, like, we didn't take the redeploy either. Hive Tyrant. Like, if it goes Winged Hive Tyrant and Death Leaper 2, I gotta know why Invasion Fleet. Alright, WTC has succeeded in making me very confused. That's, what, 3 lists now that I just can't wrap my head around too much? And then let's finish it off. We have United Nations Invasion Fleet, Death Leaper, Hive Tyrant, Neuro Tyrant, 2 Exocrines Biovore, 2 Lictors, 2 Neurolictors, 2 Norn Emissaries, Raveners, Von Ryan Sleepers, yes, let's go. 2 units of VRLs, and a max squad of Zoes to attach to the Neuro Tyrant. Now, obligatory, I like it. VRLs, block some shit out. Lictors, Exocrine, I like it. Only thing I don't like is the fact that it's Invasion Fleet, and that's not a comment on the person's selection of Invasion Fleet. That is a comment on Invasion Fleet being Invasion Fleet. So, I think all of that said, these lists have been pretty interesting, and I look forward to seeing what WTC does. So, yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.